Schools train smart people to be lazy. This is gonna sound arrogant at first, but hear me out. From kindergarten to early high school, I've always had a very easy time. In English, my writing skills were always better than other kids. In math, I never struggled to comprehend new concepts and was always getting ahead of the material. Even in band, I somehow got the best of class rating, despite barely ever practicing my instrument. So the whole time I wasn't having to work hard at all, never studying, and barely doing homework because I knew I could just ace tests. But of course it didn't stay like this forever. In the last couple years of high school and now in college, I've reached my limits and now am having to actually work hard to be successful. And as a result of early schooling, my study skills are terrible. I suck at budgeting my time and getting work done efficiently, and I always procrastinate horribly. These are arguably the most important things to learn in school, as they apply to basically anything in life, and I completely skipped over them. TLDR, higher knowledge/comprehension is good in the short term, but it'll eventually plateau and leave you with poor work ethic and study skills. Edit. Wow, I didn't think this would get a lot of attention, thanks for the awards and stuff. Edit 2. Most negative comments are people saying that me and everyone who relates to this are just covertly bragging about ourselves, and that we shouldn't be shifting blame onto the education system. I'm not saying I'm better than everyone. If anything, the takeaway of this post is that success in early schooling means nothing and effort is more important in the long run. I'm also not saying that my predicament isn't my fault. I'm just pointing out a problem I see in the education system. School is built for the average student. The class will move too slowly for one kid and too fast for another. Facts. The most successful person I know from high school was an extremely average dude. He wasn't naturally good at anything, so he worked his arse off all the time to make sure he got the results he wanted. That gave him organizational skills and a work ethic leagues beyond everyone else. He never had trouble adjusting to more difficult academic and working environments because things had always been difficult for him. Although high school was more challenging for him than most other people, he definitely got more out of it than anyone else, because what you learn is never really that important. It's learning how to learn that matters. Life becomes difficult for everybody at one point or another, and the longer you delay that by relying on talent you didn't put in any effort for, the more difficult it will be. Well, the problem is we don't separate kids by ability enough. At least in early grades. In the later grades you have the opportunity to put yourself in harder classes. Early on though, most schools just seem to do the class assignments randomly, so you have the third grader with the sixth grade reading level in the same class with third grader with a first grade reading level. We should put the smartest kids in the same class, or school, the average kids in another, and the slowest in another, so that each class can be taught and challenged more appropriately to their abilities. I feel that this is what happened to me. My father told me that high school was there to teach me how to learn. I instead took the lazy route and did things last minute. Homework would get done in school the period before it was due while I was being taught a different subject. Math was the first subject I began to fall behind in. Dropped out after my first semester in college and eventually fell into my dream job. So I guess it worked out in the end. This post just described me. Not just study though. I feel like I'm lacking some life skills, and the actual interest to learn anymore for a long while. Yeah, this is true. I can't remember the sources, because that would be too much like hard work, but trust me when I say this theory has basis in developmental psychology. It's to do with being rewarded for attainment rather than effort. Man, this is so me. Went through school easily and now I suck in college because I can't manage my time properly and being lazy AF. That's why there are clubs and AP classes. I joined a bunch in high school and college and found most of my learning and achievement through communion with like-minded individuals. The problem isn't that everyone in this thread is so smart that they never learned how to study properly. The problem is everyone here was told they were really smart, and then they found out they were average. I totally agree, and the kids who aren't as naturally smart have to work 10x harder and therefore will probably have better work ethic and more realistic views of what's expected of them in college and beyond. I've had dyslexia my whole life, but I only got diagnosed at 15, and it really is hard without parents or teachers who care. I've always been labeled as a slow learner and basically had to work 10x harder than everyone else just to get an average grade. I always used to get shouted at for being lazy and not trying hard enough when that was my best. Even during class I'd ask the teacher to repeat it and they'd say, "I'm not repeating it again, you should have been listening the first time. Isn't it your job to teach?" I don't get it. I don't even know how I made it that far without anyone picking up on it. I was average intelligence, but the way the school taught me made me feel really dumb. Nobody worked hard and I would work my ass off and still barely pass. I got all B's until my second to last year of high school. Absolutely agree with what you've said and understand the sentiments expressed. My experience was different, however, in that I was a middle-of-the-road student who, now at 35 with a graduate degree, explains to younger people how school really just taught me how to learn, how to teach myself, and how to understand what I don't know better. LOL. My school brags about how it had a 99% pass rate, however if you fail like one class they will just kick you out. You realize you have to motivate yourself, someone can't do it for you. I think you got complacent. Take responsibility for your own habits. My engineering professor used to always tell us to be a good engineer you have to be lazy, and I loved that. I was once doing a maths exercise in school. I noticed there was a pattern between the first few answers, so I copied the pattern through the rest and took the paper to be marked. Teacher was shocked how quickly I did it. So she asked how. I told her. She told me to go back and work them all out properly. Obviously, my answers were correct. I learned that day, trying and excelling is not worthwhile. 27 years later and I've done well, and I've never tried, so maybe they were right to teach me that lesson. Because smart people are lazy, businessmen aren't the ones working but the ones giving orders. Any IT engineer will tell you that training people to be lazy is what advanced technology, being lazy created many innovative convenient tech. Kids, I'd like to learn how to properly manage daily life skills, and to function in society. School, LOL, what'd you say? Change the curriculum so you'll fail. As someone who was raised since kindergarten going to a school for the gifted and talented, although it helped with the problem you're discussing and I am currently a hard-working person, what it did inadvertently teach me was that if I wasn't immediately good at something it wasn't even worth the effort. When you are automatically comparatively good at math or writing, you get turned off from anything as soon as it requires a learning curve or you don't begin your efforts already above average at it. I notice still recently, high school aged as of now, that it's hard to convince myself to work at, for instance, journalism, because it's something that does not come naturally to me. Ah well.